Mendocino Ballet, and we are a performance company and school here in the county. I know you guys are all aware of the importance of the arts in our county and have approved our request for funding twice now for the Arts Council of Mendocino County. And what I wanted today to do is to share some figures in support of arts. This is from the Arts and Economic Prosperity 3, the economic impact of nonprofit arts and culture organizations and their audiences, and this is from the Americans for the Arts, 2007. When community leaders fund the arts, they not only enhance our quality of life, but also invest in our economic well-being. An arts-based economy can enhance a county's efforts to diversify rural economies, generate revenue, improve the quality of life, and attract visitors and investment. The arts create a highly desirable quality of life that draws businesses and workers to further stimulate the economy. And some figures from the 2007 James Irvine Foundation research. There are 330,635 artists living in California, more than any other state in the country. However, 11 cents per capita per Californian is spent on the arts, ranking us last among the 50 states. So we are hoping that Mendocino County can become a leader in supporting the arts, and that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker card I have is from John McKeown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. John McCowan. I'd like to first commend the board for your commitment to fully fund the current staffing levels in the sheriff's office, with the understanding there will be a vacancy factor. I also would like to speak in favor of a number of the parking lot items. I would urge you to fund the Resource Conservation District and the Juvenile Justice Commission for the reasons that you're all well aware of. I also would advocate in favor of the funding for the electronic agenda. This is a service that is available to any citizen in the county who has access to a computer, and it's a great convenience to be able to simply go to your computer and get the information, and they continue to improve and refine the ability of the public to access that information in a user-friendly way. I think about 2 weeks ago you had to download the entire file of all the consent calendar items and everything in order to zero in on the one item you want. Now you just click on the agenda, the items come up, you click on the one you want. So it's much more user-friendly. I think they'll continue to improve it. On staff side, there are also benefits, I believe, in the agenda preparation process that will create a more efficient process, so it's beneficial to staff as well. The last thing I'd like to mention would be the funding for emergency medical services and rural fire protection. I know that you're contemplating putting additional funds into that over what was recommended. I think that's appropriate, but I believe that now gets us up to a level of $100,000 combined for the EMS and the rural fire protection. I know that last year when the board provided significant funding, it was intended to be a one-year allocation, and the hope was that funding would be found elsewhere during this interim period. And of course, we're still working on that, or your CEO and yourselves are still working on it. But just by point of comparison, last year, EMS and rural fire protection was funded by this board at a level of $536,000, I believe was the approved budget allocation. So to drop that down to $100,000 is a severe hit for the rural districts, particularly I think the rural fire protection districts are hard-pressed to absorb these costs. So I would urge you to give further consideration to what more you can do there. Thank you.
Mr. McCowan, question. Publicly acknowledge you're engaged in a campaign. Do you have any suggestions of where we find this additional money? Or what's your knowledge into the budget and where some ideas on your philosophy might come from?
Well, I know that Supervisor Pinches might not appreciate this, but you're also looking at providing a fairly significant amount of funding for Scout Lake. Now, not all of those funds would be transferable to some of these other projects, but potentially some of them would. And if You know, I know that there are thoughts been expressed, we don't need to improve the electronic agenda because that won't help get me an ambulance in Covelo when I need one. The same could be said for the Scout Lake project, and perhaps that could be deferred. Thank you.
Thank you.
Being as I was addressed, I have to comment on that.
100 words, John.
I can't believe that we're going to put a water supply at the same category, same priority, is more agenda messages. I mean, that's, you know, we're in a water crisis. I don't think we're at a crisis as far as getting our information out there to the public.
Thank you, Supervisor. Other members of the public wishing to speak to this item, I believe that's all the speaker cards that I have. How much time did this speaker have remaining? Okay.
Very brief.
can
I wasn't
answer-
suggesting putting the agenda at the same level, but I was comparing it to funding for EMS and rural fire protection. Thank you.
So now it's the guy with the heart attack suffers, but he can find out what's on our agenda.
Okay. Let's bring it back to the board here. Any additional speakers?